Welcome to the Funded Now What podcast with your host, Andrew Lee Miller, brought to you by Growth Experts. You're in store for a chat about funding, marketing, startups, and all things growth.
All right, everybody. Hello and welcome back to the Funded Now What podcast. I'm your host, Andrew Lee Miller, also known as Andrew Startups. And today I am joined with a founder visiting us from London, but he's Portuguese, got a Portuguese startup named Oscar that's just raised 6 million euros. João, thank you so much for being here. How are you?
Thank you. Really cool. Thanks a lot for the invite. Excited.
Absolutely. So 6 million euros, you're funded. Now what?
Yeah, now you.
That's the name of the podcast.
Exactly. I love it. Now you just need to execute, right? You just need to make that dream of a plan that you showed
happen.
Yeah, into reality, really.
Okay.
I think.
Okay. That's
part,
awesome. So Oscar is, to an American in one line, I would really say it's like the thumbtack of Europe is what you're building. It seems to me this is an app, a mobile app where you can get hundreds of different home services from maintenance to cleaning done in 30 minutes. That's the pitch, right?
Yeah, I would say it's more like an Uber for home services in a way that it's kind of a close, heavily managed experience. So I think that's something that you don't get on open marketplaces like Thumbtack.
True.
I mean, they are awesome, but you go there and you have a list of technicians and you have to choose and ask for a quote. And we like the push a button and get a technician in 30 minutes.
Love that. Okay. So it's the Uber of home services. Is there an equivalent for that? Like in the US? I don't even know. I don't.
Now in the US, you don't have anything right now.
Okay.
You have a few players in Middle East.
Got it.
Middle East is huge on service experience. So
that's
of course
true.
You're not going to search for a technician, just push a button.
I love it. Okay. So what made you start this company and when did you start it?
So I started like 3 or 4 years ago. I was a software engineer in a startup. I was doing software and I don't know, I had this passion between like ops and tech. So like making things in the digital world that really affect the offline world. That's kind of something that I don't know, I always liked it. So calling an Uber for me, it's still like amazing, like seeing the car on the map and then seeing like on the street, it's an awesome experience. And I'm very passionate about that. And I found this, I wanted something that was all about execution. And I think Oscar is like, if I say to you like, hey, instead of spending 3 hours on a directory, why not like open the app, I give you a fixed price, you push a button, you track. Yeah. So the idea was kind of a no-brainer and it was all about execution and I wanted something like this. So yeah.
There you go. Okay. First marketing lesson, man. You gotta say, I mean, not lie, but you gotta say, I had this problem in my house and I went and I ended up wasting 3 hours and then I found, you know what I mean? That is the founder story that everybody wants to hear. So, I mean, it makes sense that you're a software engineer, you had this problem and you realized that there's no way to get really trusted people. I mean, I never even thought about the difference from, like Thumbtack open experience, but you're right. I know plenty of people, myself included, that have had bad experiences because it's not managed enough. So I think that makes sense. And then with your background in software, it made sense that you were the guy to build it. And so I think the origin story it's more important for investors, but even still, like, if you're going to continue to do more founder interviews and public speaking, you want to stand up and be like, I had this problem. And then everybody goes, oh my God, I have that problem too. And then, you can connect.
To be honest, like it's 100% true in my case, but sometimes it's such a cliche that I ended up not speaking about it because it's such a fake story, In my case, it's honestly real. Like
it is the real story. It's not fake if it's real. I get it. It sounds like, you don't have to worry about that. A lot of times I try to like work with founders on marketing. And they're like, I don't like the way that sounds. I'm like, okay, but you're in the industry. You're in startups. You listen to them a lot more. The regular customer is not listening to founder origin stories 100 times a year like you are. And so I think it's different. At the end of the day, your job is to connect with people that own homes or are living in a place that are having these stressful issues that want to have it managed and handled. And with that story, I think it helps people connect to, oh my God, this is going to make my life so much easier. And so anyway, just
I
a
like
little tip
the
there, but
Yeah, I
what?
think it's a good point that you touched there. Like, sometimes, like you said, sometimes we have to say things that you need to say them because you need to attract investment and things. And it's not, of course, like it's not lying, but it's like putting it in a way that's a little bit more engaging and attractive. I mean,
Hmm.
salespeople do it all the time, and they are not tricking us. They are just like like pushing for the product. It's cool.
Exactly.
And
Yeah. I get this a lot, actually. Sorry to interrupt you. I get people are like, oh no, marketers are liars. Advertisers at big corporations are liars. But at startups, we do have a little bit of leeway to fake it till we make it. And I like
yeah,
to really explain the difference because people don't really understand it. Like you never fake your numbers, you never makes lies to investors about profitability or anything like that. But if you like faking it till you make it means like we've been actively pitching, a giant real estate project about partnering with you to offer services to their,
hmm,
and we're about to close them. And maybe in a meeting we say we're already working with this real estate developer, even though they haven't signed the contract. That's like faking it till you make it. Like we're
yeah.
about to close them. We want to manifest it by talking it into fruition. And so I think that's, we just like, we're talking a few months ahead of the game. We're not making anything up. And so that's what faking it till you make it means to me as a startup marketer. But there's a fine line, and we do not lie ever because the
Yeah,
startup graveyard is littered with founders that lied.
yeah,
I don't know if you just saw, there was a startup
yeah,
builder.ai that yeah, they had a whole team.
yeah,
And in 2014, I was working on my first AI startup. I was head of marketing of a company, and we were legitimately lying similar to that. I mean, the technology just wasn't there. And we raised a seed round and we had like 20 engineers and ML guys building stuff. But we were saying it was AI even back then when the technology clearly wasn't there. And I was really baffled to see that someone was still doing that 10 years later when the technology is literally there. So don't want to do
yeah.
that. But
I
sorry, you
think
were continue what you were saying.
no, but on that too, I think it's very interesting. Like when I started, like when I joined this ecosystem of startups, I really found like a paradise to me, to be honest. Like I was not, yeah, really, like because when I was in college, like for me, like university and everything, like I struggled a lot to connect like the knowledge things that I was learning with practical like impact, and
Hmm.
I really wanted to make like a fast and big impact on things. Like everywhere that I looked at, I saw it was not like I was thinking that I was smarter than everyone else, but like I was like, oh, this could be so much better. Like it's so exciting. I would love to jump in and solve that problem. And like every day I was solving, I was like checking products and stuff and problems and sorry and yeah, the ecosystem of startups for me was really like, wow, this is like paradise. This is
Home.
really
You're
good.
home.
Yeah, yeah, I'm home. And one of the things that I noticed in the early days was that really surprised me was the amount of trust that there's in the ecosystem between investors and founders and so on. Like
Hmm.
I didn't have a due diligence in my early round. Like things were very based on trust. And I was
Wow.
thinking, like, well, I'm a very well-intentioned person, but I know that some of the people that join that want to create startups, I mean, sometimes they just don't want to have a boss, you know.
Yeah,
So I'm
that's
gonna create
true.
a new bit, and some of them really think about money. Like one thing that I can say for sure is like, if you come from the money, if you come for the
For
money,
the money, yeah, you're
you are not
not going
gonna
to
add
win.
value. To be
Mm-mm.
honest, and
I
it's very
agree.
hard to create value and money at the same time. But we should focus on the value that we are creating first. And I'm not saying this because it's the right thing to say. I
No,
really believe this is the core of the thing. And Andrew, that's the time that I started like, well, if someone fucks this up like and do something like robs an investor or go away or commits fraud or lies or something,
it hurts.
this ecosystem will go, everything will go, it
Yeah.
will crash, and I don't want that to happen. Basically.
No, there's always some bad apples. I think like it's also usually not early stage companies that defraud investors. It's usually like a founder that gets confused or addicted to like winning. And even though the numbers internally look bad, they're like, okay, we're just going to fuck this up for a little bit and then things will get better. And you only
Yeah,
find out about the companies that didn't get better. Sometimes
yeah,
they get
no,
better and they
yeah,
pay back the Ponzi scheme or the bad investors, and you never know about it. I've seen it many times myself. I'm like, oh my God, employees are not getting paid for a few months so that the company can pay investors so that they can make it to this closing this client, and then they close the client and then everybody gets paid back.
Yeah.
And so I think, but you're totally right. I mean, the reason I interview startups from around the world on this podcast is because I have consulted for companies in like 15 different countries, and and I just love the startup ecosystem in different places. But also I still think there is a unique element to Silicon Valley and San Francisco that I try to teach and disseminate around the world. And it's a lot of what you said. It's really like we just are addicted to winning and taking risks and solving problems and fixing things, as opposed to, and I'm not going to name names, but I have worked in one of the regions you mentioned earlier, and there's a lot less innovation there, and there's a lot more how can we make money from the very
Yeah.
beginning, and maybe a little bit of like, I joke. I'm of Jewish descent, and I joke. My whole family's entrepreneurs on that side of the family, and I joke that they're not hireable people, and we're not hireable people, and that's what makes us be entrepreneurs. Because even if you say you're my boss, I'm gonna like argue with you and whatever, and act like I'm the boss, and that's what makes it. But so there is an element of that, but beyond that, I think that in some regions there's like a flashiness and a nouveau riche, and people just really want to show that they're successful and have money. And if you're starting a business for that reason, it will never work out, because as soon as you realize you have to work 18 hours a day, move to a different country as Zhao did, uproot your whole life and put everything on the line for your business. If you're only in it for money, you're not going to be dedicated enough. You have to really care about the mission that you're solving. That's why I was saying at the beginning that origin story is so important, because not just for investors, people want to know that this guy had my problem. He is dedicated to solving it. And that's what's going to enable you to put in the hours. I mean, as a software developer, back in the day before we had AI, doing 30% or 60%, there was weeks where we had to sprint, and the devs didn't get to sleep 8 hours for several weeks because something broke or something has to be out by this date and whatever. And so that kind of dedication cannot be taught. And, it's like either something you see from your parents or something that you become obsessed with. Like you said, you found your home. Were your parents entrepreneurs?
Yeah, my father is a local entrepreneur, and I think it
There
came
you
from
go.
that.
Mine too.
Yeah.
Mine too. My dad has a little jewelry store, and I grew up watching him hustle to the point where he was like, I should have worked for someone else for 25 years. The first 25 years of the business, he was like, I should have worked for someone else. And now he's in his like 40th year, and he's absolutely crushing it. And just the relentless dedication to caring about people, it rubs off on you a lot. And you need that representation. And you just mentioned also in college, you don't get that representation. There are some entrepreneurship classes, but it's theory. You're not really learning to execute, and and that's why people are turning to TikTok and podcasts and stuff like that to get that representation, to hear from those entrepreneurs like you, hopefully on this show, and get inspired by that. But total tangent there. We went off, but that was really cool, man. So
really cool.
let's get back to the company though. So you raised this money. What's the org look like? Like, you're building the product? Are you like, co-founder, or you're just CEO? Like, what does the org look like?
Yeah, I'm a solo founder.
Wow.
I think I'm a CEO, but I don't know. At this point, I'm involved in so many things, but I think that's the name. The org chart has been changing a lot, but overall numbers, we are like 50 people.
Wow.
I think, like I was talking about this a couple of minutes ago, I think I became so obsessed about like coming from my engineering mindset. I was so afraid of failing, and I was so scared that maybe this doesn't scale, that I became so obsessed about scaling growth, ops, marketing, the supply side, the demand side, everything.
Good.
That I think I forgot about how to scale the team. And that's one of the things that I struggle the most nowadays, because then it ends up like me being the person having to be involved in a lot of things. And I remember like going to these, like watching podcasts and going to these events, and all of the senior people and like really smart people, they all said like to pre-seed and seed and seed companies, like most important thing is hiring. And I was like, I don't think so. I think it's really like putting the chart like up into the right no matter what. Like maybe hiring, maybe working 14 hours. I don't know, but yeah, it's growth. It's
Both. I
not
mean,
hiring. But now
yeah, I
I'm,
mean, there's nothing to hire for if there's no growth. So
yeah,
it makes
exactly.
logical sense that you grow and then you hire along the way. But I think the founders that are saying that are quickly trying to not exit the business, but hand off pieces. Like
Mm,
you, micromanagement is a disease in
yeah,
as a founder. And I mean, that's why I said, wow, when you said you have 50 people in 3 years, like that's amazing. And it's scary also increasing your burn rate. 6 million
yeah,
is a good round, but you have to raise faster and faster as you grow the team. So it gets scarier to founders. So it makes logical sense that you don't want to grow the team. But I think the data is there. Like the more you grow the team, the higher your success rate, as opposed,
yeah,
because you can grow too fast and then not be able to manage it and fail. You
yeah.
cannot. It's like a give and take. You can grow the team too fast and then the growth is not there. So
Yeah.
what team members like? How's the like? What is the focus on hiring? Who is the focus on hiring right now?
Uh, Mostly me, but like from those 50 people, you have like 25 to 30 people focused on live operations and customer support. So we hire
Nice.
everything internally. So some of these
Wow.
positions are very easy to manage in a way that, our operation, I think we did an amazing work on operations, to be honest. And I really trust the leadership of that team. And that's something that I don't need to be very involved. I mean,
Amazing.
I know the metrics, I know everything, but they have their own culture, they have their own thing, and it's working. And I just don't want to mess that up. I just want to, okay, whatever I can
Yeah.
help you guys continue to do that amazing work, I will do.
Wow.
Um, but that's like 30 from 50 people, and so then you have an engineer, I have an engineering team and the product team, and those guys make like really important decisions. But by the end of the day, this is very business ops driven and growth driven.
Hmm.
So people really making like important decisions and kind of like um, gluing everything together, it's just a few people that we have, and that's where we struggle a lot. Because yeah, and then you have like a structure per country where you build a local team on every country that you operate in.
Hmm.
And for
And
example, we
you
don't
do
have,
all that yourself? You build
no,
the
no, no.
international team? No, you have a
Yeah,
chief of
yeah, I mean,
staff or
yeah, usually like we put a lot of responsibility on every department. So for example, I have a very capable person, very aligned with me on operations, and that person helps me like setting up all the
a new
teams
country.
locally, yeah, and guaranteeing that. Where I'm very very involved, and too much involved to be honest at this point, is growth, where I'm managing directly every country in terms of growth. Um, but like I was saying, yeah, that's the struggle mostly. And but yeah, hopefully, like with time, it's just like I just want to make really the best hires possible.
Yeah.
And going back a bit to our conversation, also how rare we are, not special, but for sure, like we are small percentage of population. And imagine when you want to hire just those people, it means that for every, like, it's like not even 5% of the people. So that means that, like you
Hmm.
have to do a lot of interviews to find the right person. And that takes so much time.
Definitely. Well, I don't want to sound like a sales pitch, but so doing marketing for startups as a consultant for the last almost 10 years, every single time I've officially made myself obsolete for a company, like the company's grown enough to where they need to start hiring an internal marketing team, I've stepped away and then the company has failed to hire quickly because like they're like just juggling everything that we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And so 2.5 years ago I brought on a recruiter into Growth Experts, full-time, amazing guy, ex Amazon, worked with hundreds of startups as a consultant now as well. And then we're actually starting a new company, which I shouldn't even mention on the podcast, a fully startup focused recruitment agency. And because the trend over the last few years has been fractional recruiting, and I don't think I've ever even talked about this, and maybe we'll start another podcast for that. But fractional recruiting is basically getting an expert recruiter into your company part-time to build out the hiring processes, the applicant tracking software, teach you interviewing practices. And like, man, that will shorten the learning curve on that and fix that
Yeah.
really quickly. I mean, I'm going to make an intro but I wish he was here to explain it better than me. But the idea is that startup recruiters with 10 plus years experience know how to find those people, those
Yeah.
5%, I think. And then, but it really depends on if there's like local market knowledge you need to have. But still, beyond that, what I can say as a marketer is doing more founder marketing and founder branding, thought leadership also brings those people into your universe. Like doing more of
Hmm.
these podcasts in the startup world and going out and talking about it. I mean, like you should already be really well known in the Portuguese market. How many cool
Hmm.
startups are there raising millions of dollars? Maybe 10, 20 maximum, I would think, so you should be at those conferences. I actually had April on my team reach out to you because I follow EU startups website and they had a PR about you raising. I spoke at a couple of their conferences. Shout out to them. And so I think you're already getting some notoriety in the European market, but overall in like the startup, world, and that's you're good. You're doing this kind of stuff. I think that helps draw those people in, and then you get those followers, and then you post. You see a lot of founders post the jobs themselves on
Yeah.
their LinkedIn and stuff, and then you get the right people to apply that way. But
I
but
don't
yeah,
think.
you're too busy to be handling all the top of the funnel recruitment stuff.
Yeah.
You honestly, at your stage, founder should just be doing the final interview to make sure that there's like
Yeah.
culture fit and everything should be laid out in front of you by then. But that's cool. I mean, it's
Yeah.
good that it like the most successful founders, every single little thing needs to be like pried away from them. You don't want the founders like that we're at the conferences telling you like hire really fast and get rid of everything. Like you keep it's your baby until you find the perfect person, and then they slowly earn your trust, and then
That's the thing.
you give it away for them. And I think that's the right formula.
Yeah, I think, yeah, for me, that's the right formula. I think, to be honest, like that could be, there's no right way to do it, and it really depends on your management style. And this is so important. Like this is such a made up phrase, but this is so important because I don't think founders should change that much. Like you should find people that are aligned with you and help you and challenge you, but not people that will change your completely mindset. Like if you think that
Totally.
working from the office it's your thing, and if you like it, and if you always work from the office, hire
Do
people
it.
that want to work from the office. That's it. It's going to be a little bit harder. It is. But don't hire people that will change your culture. Like, hey, we have a no office policy, and now the CEO is
Yeah.
alone at the office. What the hell? Like, like,
Yeah, it's just like it's a relationship at the end of the day. You fall in love with a girl that like hates your religion or like what
exactly.
country your favorite soccer football team. Sorry, I almost said soccer. And and you're not going to have an easy road ahead of you. And so, like, there's
Yeah.
so many other options, but that all that
Yeah.
makes sense. Let's get back to the growth stuff. So you're obsessing
Hmm.
over the growth, you're focused on it. What are the main ways that you are acquiring customers? Because it's a two-sided marketplace. I would
Hmm.
imagine it's pretty easy to get the supply. Like you don't need marketing help on how do we get more maintenance workers or cleaners. That's pretty easy, right? It's
Yeah.
how do we get more people to download our app and use it when they need something.
Yeah. It was a big question mark for me, for a couple of years, like the supply side and how I'm going to scale
Okay.
this. Because if you do the math, and if you think like, okay, I have a huge market in Portugal. Imagine, like, it's not that big of a country, but like you can really scale in Portugal.
Yeah.
And then you think, okay, so I'm going to need this amount of technicians. When you put it on the Google sheet, like, and you see
It's a
the amount
lot.
of technicians, it's like, okay, but like it's kind of a black market still, so you don't know how many are there. And in our case, I believe what we did was a mix between, in Portugal, I think it's the best example because it's the biggest market. It was a mix between getting the best technicians in the country, also like kind of importing technicians, like a lot of technicians are immigrants, and also like empowering and training technicians to be better. So like kind of creating a new workforce.
Wow, you
Um,
trained them?
we trained them a bit. We would love to do even more. That's something
Wow.
that we are investing right now. But yeah,
That's
so
amazing. When you put that kind of work in, I'm imagining you digitize it, and it's not like, is it in person training or it's
yeah,
like digital?
we do both, but for one of the things that is very important for us is in person on everything. Like
Yeah.
that's something that we built on our culture and that we are empowering. For example, if I'm opening a new city in Spain, someone is going to fly there and
Oh,
have a
hell yeah.
meeting, like rent a like a hotel room, like and have a meeting with these people and explain them how the app works and listen to them. It's really important to
Put a
like
face
yeah,
to the
we
company.
tested like
Yes.
I did a test with two different cohorts, like not being in person, like on board, and not having like really a personal relationship with someone in the company, or the ones that went to those events and work closely to the team. And you can see the difference in the engagement, like
Of
accepting
course.
services. It's completely different.
Don't even need to test that. And I can tell you that if you take it a step further and you do a launch event, which I can tell you on this call how to do for free, if you do a launch event and you invite the press, you invite influencers, you invite the technicians, they're going to get they're going to work even more. And then you tell them like our top technician for the year is going to get a vacation
Yeah,
to
yeah,
Porto or wherever the hell it is. Like then they're like, oh my God, this is my, and then or top technician gets a 10,000 euro training,
yeah,
that we'll give you a scholarship to university. Like they're going to actually, and you get a lot of extra benefit from doing those events. You get social media content, you get PR, you get someone that writes
yeah.
about you,
And
and
you
you
know
get influencers.
the funny part about this is that this is nothing new. Like
No,
onboarding people in person, that's kind
it's
of
old.
that's that's kind of the classic move. And
Yeah.
I feel a lot about this, especially on growth and especially on marketing, um,
Hmm.
that going back to the basics, especially like going back to offline, that's for
Yes.
me that's a huge opportunity. I feel that growth and marketing, it's kind of a bidding war, and if you bid where no one is bidding, you
You're
usually have an
good.
advantage. Yeah.
Man, so true. And so I ran marketing for a two-sided marketplace a long time ago, and we had $190 million exit while I was there. And
Wow.
offline stuff was some of the most successful. Obviously, SEO is really important.
Hmm.
We weren't an app
Everything
at that
counts.
time,
Yeah.
but the partnerships that we made, I even mentioned at the beginning because I thought about it, with like real estate companies where they would give our website in a packet of information to everybody that rented or bought a unit in their thousands of units that they launched per year. There was a lot of offline stuff, even with like churches and things that really worked for us back in the day. And so I totally agree with that. But even more, as a marketer that's trying to always stay on the cutting edge, I literally just said to my team a few days ago, because I'm seeing people really relying on AI too much already. Like, and it's good. I'm glad that you're cutting edge and you're using all AI stuff, but don't fucking send me something with a bunch of dashes and lines and it says, if it's noticeably not from you, I'm going to be upset because I want you to continue to do things the hard way because the hard way is the right way.
Yeah.
And I agree. I think like maybe we're really early on that, but this will age really well in a couple of years when everyone is doing things the lazy way with AI. For instance, I was just in Brazil and I used Airalo for the SIM card when I was there,
Hmm.
and the SIM card didn't work one day, and they had fully AI support. It was shit. It was not good. It was okay, but like I would have rather dealt with a human. It would have gone twice as fast because anyway, my point is like doing everything in AI, it might help you to scale, but like you're going to just, you're going to win by doing things the hard way
Yeah.
still. And I
and
think
and
like
it doesn't and it doesn't scale to open like I don't know how many cities we want to open, but like it doesn't scale to go there in person, but you are building the foundation, and like you do things that don't scale, like
exactly.
right until
Who
they
said that?
actually
I
don't
think
scale.
the founder
Uh,
of LinkedIn said that. Do things that don't. No, Paul Graham from
yeah,
YC,
program, yeah.
he said, do things that don't scale, and it's not natural to people because we read these books, we see all these people talking about scale, but you have to get to the point where you have to do the things that do scale. right? In the beginning, you need to make sure every technician is fucking amazing more than you need to
Yeah.
launch 50 cities in 1 week. Because if you have a great experience, the word of mouth starts to take over, network effect. Someone moves from Lisbon to another city and then they spread the word of mouth there. So the quality of the
Yeah.
service is actually more important than growing really, really quickly. So yeah, doing things that don't scale. That's awesome. Love that. Um, what are you doing to like activate a city? So, okay, we talked about the technicians. How are you getting the demand
The
side
demand.
right now? Like
Yeah.
what are the marketing channels that are really working for you? And what have you not tried yet that I can maybe dissect and give you some advice on?
Yeah. So I think there's always like it really depends on the market maturity, but I like to start with activations on a new market, like offline things, small things, the flyers,
Mm-hmm.
the not billboards, not like big things, but like activations out of home in general. Like I think it's good to start like creating something. Then the influence marketing is something huge for us, and it's usually
Mm-hmm.
where we start.
Okay.
And as soon as the brand and the influencer, like the social media presence, starts to pick up a bit, that's when we push for paid media, which is of
Mm-hmm.
course our main growth engine, and that's where we
Obviously.
invest more money. And then you have the challenge of like, which is a challenge that we have, for example, now in Portugal. So we did this, went very well. At this point, like acquisition costs are growing a little bit more proportional to the investment that you are putting in. So you start understanding that you are kind of saturating that channel, or like it's not scaling like in a way that you would love to
Mm-hmm.
scale. And that's the moment that you, at least that's what we are doing right now, kind of capping the investment on performance marketing in general, because it's already a lot, and going back to those activations, but in a more scalable way. Like, so now maybe you go for the billboards, but not like doing billboards like Coca-Cola does billboards, like, because we are not Coca-Cola. So like doing something disruptive still, very unconventional, very bold. That's at least is our style, and try to scale in that way. But I think it's a continuous search of what works and doesn't work. But I
Mm-hmm.
think that in the middle, there's always a growth engine supporting everything. And I believe that that doesn't change too much. If you look at B2C marketplaces like Oscar, usually they rely always on performance marketing, either like search or just display. So it really depends. We are a little bit more focused on display, but I think that's not
Absolutely.
natural for our industry. Like we started this because we really exploded on Instagram in the early days. So we became
Mm-hmm.
quite big on social and not that big on search and SEO. So going back to your question, I think things that we didn't explore is SEO, search. Um,
Perfect.
yeah,
Okay, that's a lot. There's a lot to unpack there. Before I go into it, is it a mobile app or is it a web app or both?
it's mobile. That's why.
Okay, so that's why. Yeah, no, there's you will get nothing but bad experiences if someone searches for handyman near me and then they have to download a fucking app to
Yeah,
get
yeah,
the work. It's just not the right intent. They need something right away. So that's why display works for you. But so there's a lot we can do there. I think, if you're, that's why Instagram really works, is because, but still it's the laziest, most expensive display advertising on Instagram. It's good for getting the brand out. It's good because you can use user generated content will work, like the influencers and stuff like that.
hmm
That's all great. But if you're not doing, there is search on App Store ads, right? Is it all Android, or are you Android and iOS? Both?
and iOS. Yeah, we use Apple
Okay.
Ads and as well. Yeah,
Yeah. So with Apple ads, there's obviously your keywords that for intent, but then there's also just random shit. Like, you would be surprised if someone searches for Instagram and they see your listing, you'll probably still get 10% tap rate and a decent install rate. And then like at the end of the day, it's still going to provide ROAS. And so when I see saturation for App Store ads for something that's so relevant to literally every human, like, it's not like a small market.
yeah,
It's literally anybody that ever needs anything at their house. So like, if your
true.
app store listing page is really good and really, now you can edit the listing page and the ad as well. Like, we didn't have that a year ago. So you can try multiple versions. That's like, get everything fixed in your house in 30 minutes or something like that. That makes anyone even looking for a TikTok video editing tool be like, oh shit, I'll download that. And you can
Yeah,
also only show your ads to people that are on Wi-Fi, and then the install rate even goes up higher there because they're not using their data and et cetera.
Oh, that's a
So
good tip.
usually that's what I would do when we hit saturation on that, is you just reduce the level of intent because your market is so large, like anybody needs it. So that's what the App Store ads. On the Android ads, obviously you're doing like Google UAC campaigns, right? And those are
Yeah.
just so cheap. And like, if I don't think you're reaching saturation with that, like it's almost impossible. Like it just, like if it's not working, then it's the creatives need to be refreshed. And I don't think you can really update the creatives that much on the Google UAC campaigns. But with Instagram and stuff, it's really important to monitor the frequency of the ads, like and cap it to like 2 or 3 or less than that even. I mean, any display for anybody listening, basically it's like the average amount of times that someone in your network or your audience is seeing the ad. And with content and that takes a long time to make, or you pay an influencer, we don't want to see that we need to update it because it's like a whole company initiative.
Yeah.
But the more frequently you update that, the better. I mean, LinkedIn will tell people like, give us 5 versions of an ad. I've never seen any other platform do that. You want at least like 5 versions of an ad on any platform so that it has time to show multiple versions to a person. And a lot of the algorithms are they're cheating, and they're like, if you, like, for instance, on Instagram, also, if you have a large age demographic between your campaign, they're going to screw you, because as soon as 24-year-olds start engaging with the ad, all the budget goes to 24-year-olds, and you don't know that. So it looks like, oh, this ad is underperforming now, but all the people 40 and over never saw the ad because we got conversions early on. So another thing you can do is do it really small age gaps on your ad groups on Instagram, and go back and do that. And you'll be like, holy shit, these are performing so much better because it's making sure that everyone is seeing it. So the way that the Meta algorithm works is, I mean, all of them are just, the goal is to get you to spend as much money as possible. It's not to have amazing performance no matter what they say. I'm happy to say that on recording. I've worked directly with Meta and Google on ads. I mean, rarely, but sometimes when I've had really big budgets, they'll call you into the office and be like, hey, thanks for spending $1 million this month. And then you can ask direct questions. Also, this is like a while ago. I don't know if it still happens, but I was an early advertiser on Meta, like 2011 when they first launched it. And I had 7-figure budgets back then for like a Groupon copy. You're probably too young to know what Groupon was, but it's like the daily deal. It was the biggest thing in e-commerce on the planet at the time. So incredible. Thank you so much for being here, man, and best of luck to you in the future. Cheers.
That has been another episode of the Funded Now What podcast with your host, Andrew Lee Miller, brought to you by Growth Experts. If you liked this episode, please subscribe. And if you really liked it, please share with other founders and entrepreneurs. Thanks. And we'll see you in the next episode.